Welcome back, everybody, to Talk of the Now podcast. I'm your host, Gene, and we're back again this week, and I hope everybody is doing well. And Jason, how are you doing?
Doing fine, sir. Doing fine.
Well, that's good. That's good. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. What's going on with you these days?
Well, just working, living, much of the same.
Yeah,
That's about it.
me
Getting ready to go on a big trip.
going on a big trip
That's right.
to Hawaii, right?
No, our neighbor to the north.
Ah, yes, the Canadians.
That's right.
Yeah, and you're going to which province? Providence.
Providence. No. The
Providence.
Vector Victor is going to be we're going to Alberta. We're going to Banff National Park in Alberta
Gesundheit.
near Canada, near Calgary. Yeah.
hmm Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a fun time.
Yeah, it should be pretty good. Um, Excuse me one second. I'm going to adjust my lighting here. Hang on
Well,
one second.
that's okay. To let the audience know, tonight I'm going to do something a little different. I'm trying to basically, we're going to do an episode that's a little bit more of what Talk of the Now podcast could be in the future. I talked about that. I briefly talked about it last episode, but basically we're doing a thing where our podcast is mainly topical, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it's very improv. And so we like to just sort of talk about whatever's on our mind and that sort of thing. And I'm leaning toward maybe going a little bit more toward the, excuse me, the improv type of thing where we're
Right.
just sort of, bringing up whatever kind of topics we want to talk about, but always having kind of a comedic slant to it, kind of a, let's see the
Lighthearted.
humor in life
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. Um, so we'll see how it goes. But that's what this episode, and basically based on which direction we take it, I'll probably name the episode after that direction. So, instead of just saying, which we can always do this, can go back to saying, oh, I just want to talk about the Sahara Desert, you know, in more of, I think, a improvisational way. If we start talking about the Sahara Desert and we go on a
But we
20
don't want any
minute,
more. We don't want more dry humor. Anyway,
no,
sorry,
no, never.
sorry.
Definitely,
Yeah,
definitely
dad
not
jokes.
word,
Tonight's topic is dad jokes. Anyway,
and definitely not
no.
wordplay. I'm kidding.
Yes.
Wordplay has its place, I think.
Oh, it does. Yes, it does.
I don't know where it has its place, but it has its place.
Yes. Places we don't go. Anyway,
Uh,
no.
um, I don't know. I wrote down a few things. So in
Yeah.
order to facilitate that, if you will, as far as topical things go and what to talk about, because we're not going to be the show just like, oh yeah, let's just talk about the latest news headline. You know, it's
Too
more
many
like
of
just
those.
whatever's. I mean, there's plenty of places to find that.
Yeah.
It's more like, let's just talk about our lives or what's going on or whatever we want to talk about. If, maybe I'll look up a few odd and in news stories and whatnot that might be something or something that's going on in your life. And I don't know, Jason, I gave you an assignment. Did you think about it or have anything you came up with?
Well, the thing that popped into my mind kind of suddenly was Brian Wilson.
Oh, good one.
Yeah.
I forgot about that today.
It's sad because he died, but man lived a long life. And we
80s, right?
have, yeah, he was 82, same age as Sly and the Family Stone, who died
Oh yeah.
earlier at 82 as well. Both musical pioneers, but Brian Wilson just will always have kind of a soft place in my heart. I was raised on the Beach Boys. I know Gene heard a lot of Beach Boys, being around classic cars and everything his whole life, and just
Well, that's
music
for
in
sure.
general. Um, but how much his genius is woven into our fabric as Americans now is really what stuck in my head. You know,
Uh-huh.
I can't think of I can't think of anybody who doesn't know a Beach Boys song. Period.
Right.
Somebody knows it. They may say, "Oh, I don't know any Beach Boys." Oh, wait, I know that song. Then you know a Beach Boys song.
And we've talked about Brian Wilson on our show
We
many times
have,
and the
and
Beach
I,
Boys.
you kind of knew he was probably not doing well. You just didn't really hear much about him. I
Well,
was,
yeah, go ahead. I was going to say you're probably getting leading to this, but um I knew that he had mental issues
Yeah,
growing up, but they were after learning a little bit more about his bio, over last week, they were a little bit
yeah,
further than I thought, right?
yeah. He was diagnosed paranoid schizophrenic.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Um, at
Okay.
one point, I will say his father Murray Wilson, what excuse me, pardon me, did
Yeah.
not help that, spurred that along a little bit with stress and everything else. Probably one of the worst, you know, rock and roll fathers of all time.
Did he make
Uh,
Michael Jackson's dad look like the Easter Bunny?
yeah, they're probably about along the same lines, I would say.
Yeah.
Which is bad for Dennis and Carl and Brian, but also for Mike Love, their cousin,
Hmm.
and Al Jardine, their friend of theirs, and they're the ones that made up the original lineup. And they've kind
Hmm.
of switched people out over the years, but and of course Brian was took some a lot of absences in the late '60s and early '70s,
Hmm.
and all
Due
that.
meant because of his mental issues.
Right, stayed in bed for I don't know how long.
Was he still
Um,
writing all the lyrics and music though during that period?
yeah,
I thought so.
he was doing most of the writing, which is the genius, unfortunately, but yet fortunately, the side effect of um the illness that he had was his mental capacity was just insane for art, and I think he kind of had a lot of his genius come from that.
His being a
Trying,
little off from the norm.
yeah, he had I mean, think about Pet Sounds. Think about that album, one of the most innovative albums of all time. And you listen to some of it and you're like, what in the world? But then you listen to, God Only Knows, that Paul
Hmm.
McCartney called the best pop song ever written. I mean, you listen to stuff like that and you're going, whoa. I mean, listen to Good Vibrations for that matter. That song using a theremin, in it. Um, then you got the popper, obviously all the silly pop hits from the early 60s that really are in our culture,
Right.
fun, 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 fun. Surfing USA, Surfing Safari. Oddly enough, Dennis Wilson being the only one that actually surfed.
Was he really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Brian tried surfing once, he said, but he got bonked in the head with a board and he was just like, I'm done with this. So he would appreciate the beach from the beach, is what he would say. Um,
Yeah. I kind of do that myself.
but it was woven into his life. I mean, he was raised in Southern
It was the
California.
culture
It was the culture of
for
the early
sure.
60s and a time that, there's a part of, I know you and I, Gene, that kind of are jealous of the people that kind of got to grow up in that time frame in a weird way, where it was hot rodding and
Hmm. Southern California be hot rods on the probably on the the nights and surfing during the day, right?
yeah, and just that whole culture of you're listening to whatever is on
Yeah.
the AM radio at the time.
Well, I'd say
Um,
too, if anybody listening to this wants an idea, you won't get the surfing piece, but if you watch American Graffiti that Jason's talked about many
yeah,
times on here, you'll get
yeah,
the
it's
culture
definitely
piece of it.
yeah, that's definitely almost identical culture to probably what they grew up in. Now, a little
Hmm.
bit more urban than that.
Yeah. Northern
Just
California was different than Southern.
right. So, I
Right.
mean,
I would say that the American Graffiti, based on my dad's stories and others, that because it was Northern California area, that's
right.
probably very similar to the East Coast to how people were back in those days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I think there's all kinds of similarities between areas back then. Anywhere that was near any kind of
Hmm.
city that had a culture at all was going to be wrapped up in that. But
Yeah.
the Beach Boys, 409, Little Deuce Coupe. I mean, you could just go down the
Hmm.
list of songs that Brian wrote. Um,
Oh, another movie, by the way, that I thought about. It's a quirky, cheesy movie, but if you watch Where the Boys Are,
oh
that
yeah,
could give you an idea too of what that culture kind of
yep,
was like. I mean, it takes place in Florida, but
it's the same idea. Yeah,
yeah. But yeah, the music was, I mean, countless hits, right?
yeah. I mean, and there was obviously there was a lot of feud between fans more about, Beatles or Beach Boys, that kind of, psychedelic or bubblegum pop, and I think they kind of covered the gamut of it. Just like we'll just say like the Beatles did, with their poppy stuff originally and then psychedelic in the end.
Beach
Um,
Boys, though, it's a little apples to oranges in a way, I guess.
Sort of. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just the fact that they were out at the same time is more what I'm comparing.
Hmm.
And I think, there's
Like to me, a Beach Boys comparative might be more of a Jan and Dean.
at the
Although they
early year
might, the Jan and Dean might be disciples of the Beach Boys, though, more or
in the
less.
early years, but
For
Jan and
sure.
Dean didn't last into the late 60s. So the late 60s Beach Boys are more like the late 60s Beatles in the way that, you've got good
Experimentation.
vibrations, pet sound. I mean, all that, the crazy stuff. I mean,
Experimentation.
for that matter, the song Surf's Up, which has a surf title but has nothing to do with any kind of surfing,
Yeah.
but is a beautiful song.
Oh man.
Um,
I just
you
think me
know,
and my brother, those car songs when we were little, we thought were the coolest thing.
I know.
409, my gosh. We just thought
Which
that
is the
was
same reason why, when your dad had that 409 in the shop, I was like, ooh, 409. You know,
uh-huh.
um, we still kind of go, ooh, but that's why, because that stuff is in our culture. That's part of us,
Hmm.
as a society is this music. And I think that's a lot of music in general, but the Beach Boys are one of the giants of that part of our culture.
Hmm.
Being truly American band, you know, coming out kind of portraying a lifestyle. Um, and I don't know. I just think, the dealings later on and weird stuff going on, late 60s, you still had the Beach Boys there, even though they changed. They were still there, you know. Um, Oddly enough, I think, I still think had it not been for Brian's issues he was dealing with, we wouldn't have some of the songs that we have. And
Well, that's like Pink Floyd in a lot of
yeah,
ways, you know?
yeah,
I mean, for those that don't know, Sid Barrett, I mean,
yep.
he wasn't able to function like Brian, I guess,
No,
after a little while, but his mental illness, I'd say some ways kind of not didn't give the band mental illness, but it gave the band a lot of sorrow and a lot of
and
introspection, I guess, and that's what kind of brought a lot of their hits on.
Dark Side of the Moon from that,
Yeah,
definitely.
and pretty
Um,
much whatever else followed.
Yep, everything else after that, but definitely brought on Dark Side of the Moon directly.
Hmm.
Um, and just to think that the Beach Boys were kind of wrapped up in the Laurel Canyon scene too, because they were from down, LA area, which a lot of bands were, but they also hung out in Laurel Canyon at some of the houses where all these crazy stars all hung out and just played music and recorded stuff and probably did other things. But we're just talking about the music and and the recording, and it was that open door policy of Laurel Canyon, where we got a lot of collaborations,
Mm-hmm.
Um, the Beach Boys around at the same time as the Mamas and the Papas, and all that stuff at the mid to late 60s and the
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That California sound definitely had its own, like Mamas and Papas. I mean, Beach Boys covered that song at one point. Um,
Yeah.
sorry, what's the song I'm thinking of?
California
Sorry. Yeah,
Dreamin'.
thank you, California Dreaming. But
Yeah.
it was sort of I don't know, it was, yeah, the epicenter sort of the groovy man.
And
See,
what's crazy is Mamas and the Papas really ultimately started out in New York City and then moved to LA.
right,
You know, the song Creek A Alley actually talks about how they formed.
right.
Talks about
Well,
how one of the other guys I used to deal or two of the other guys I used to deal with formed the Lovin' Spoonful. So,
hmm.
you know,
Well, Greenwich Village in New York was kind of their scene.
yeah. Yeah.
Like is that not where like for instance Simon and Garfunkel came out of?
Yeah, that same kind of area. Yep.
Okay.
Because in a lot of ways, like in the 50s into the 60s, in the 60s, it started changing to where most of music was moving to LA from New York because it used to all be in New York
Mm,
as far as production and everything else goes. And
hmm.
then it was started moving to LA, kind of to follow Hollywood at that point. But, I mean,
Right. Right.
can't remember.
Well, what's impressive is that so much was rooted in black Southern culture,
Yeah,
that Elvis emulated, obviously,
yeah,
because of, the culture that he was in, and then so many people kind of morphed and copied, and, next thing you know, it's a big move.
yep,
But like the South, it sort of like it sort of went back and forth between your Southern blues slash country music, and then it kind of went to a Southern rock phase for like what, about a 15-year period.
yeah, easily, yep.
Hmm.
Um,
But a lot of
you
it
know, I mean,
started with the rockabilly.
yeah, I mean, obviously, blues, Elvis, so we could say blues and rock and roll started mostly in the South. So
Hmm.
we could say a lot of American music more from the South. Um, but I just it got me. Brian Wilson dying got me. It like I was like, oh man, that one messed with my head because I was
Really?
like, golly, I was just playing Beach Boy songs the whole way home from
Hmm.
work after I heard about it.
All right. So, what's
Just
your favorite Beach Boy song? Kokomo?
well, no, God, no. One that one that Brian didn't write, by the way.
Sorry.
Just in case you
Where
want.
do you fall on the Kokomo, on the bell curve of the Beatles, the Beach Boys songs? Where does Kokomo kind of fall on the list
Uh,
for you? Somewhere down number 89 or something?
yeah, somewhere like that.
I didn't know they didn't write it though.
Yeah, I mean, Surf's Up to me is probably my favorite. Um, I like Sail on Sailor. He didn't write that one either, but it was from the Holland
Hmm.
album later on.
I thought you were going to say God Only Knows.
Yeah, I mean, God Only Knows is in my top five.
Hmm.
Um, and then, I mean, I do have kind of a soft spot for In My Room, actually.
How about Little Surfer? Where's that one fall on
Yeah,
your
Little Surfer's up
list?
there.
Yeah.
But but in Warmth of the Sun, that's another one. Warmth of the Sun and In My Room, just vocally, it's hard to match the Beach Boys harmonies. It's very barbershop quality harmony. Um, I know because some of the, a couple of groups I was singing around with in college, we tried some Beach Boy stuff. It just never worked out. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Speaking of the harmonies, though, do you think that I think that probably had a big influence on the Eagles, don't you?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I'm thinking like songs like
Seven
sorry,
Bridges Road.
yes.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I think, and it had, and they had an influence on much later bands from our high school days. Weezer, for that matter.
Huh.
Weezer has a very Beach Boys sound.
Like a
When you,
postmodern Beach Boys.
yeah, when you listen to, Surf Wax America, you listen to Holiday, Let's Go Away for a While, you and I.
I think a lot of their
Yeah,
sound is a bit of an homage.
yeah. And that's cool because
Hmm.
that shows their musical prowess and that they think to do that. So anyway, I think I don't know. In My Room is kind of more of his like this is my head right now. In this world, I lock out all the worries and fears.
Mm.
Think about it. Go back and listen to that song, and that's Brian. That is Brian dealing with stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Before he knew what it was, he said at one point that the voices were so loud. That's why his harmony sounds louder than everybody else's. That high harmony. It's because he's trying to drown out the voices in his head.
Scary thought.
It's a scary thought, but he had a way to cope. You know, he had an art, a craft that helped him cope and live his 82 years. Um, not without stress and tumultuous times, but
Mm.
I we got genius out of it.
Well,
And
no question there. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, very rarely do artists come along that can do all of that. We have other. I mean, obviously Sly of Sly and the Family Stone, who died recently, was another genius,
Hmm.
the original funk guy. You got Billy Joel, you got Prince. Um,
Is
you know,
oh gosh, what's the name of the guy from Parliament?
George Clinton.
Yeah, he's still alive, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but
He's getting up there probably.
Sly, they all that came before him. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's sad, but it also just causes us to remember and causes us to, value his music even more. We've got his music to live on.
Right. Well, I guess
And
that's a lot of ways speaks to legacy. It's kind of like,
yeah,
what are you doing? Not you, Jason, but what are you doing? The universal you. What are you doing to create a legacy? What do you want to leave behind?
yeah,
100 years
yeah,
from now, nobody's probably, going to remember your average guy on the street, but you'll still be able to dig up a Brian Wilson song,
yeah.
you know?
200, 300 years from now, I would say. Honestly,
Yeah,
it's that good. I mean, it's that ingrained.
right.
There are other artists we know that I don't think anybody's going to care where they went. They're flash in the pan artists.
Yeah, well, not only
And
that, but I sort of think that the beginning of rock, early 50s, somewhere up until like the early 2000s is a bit of a flash of a pan in some ways, because I mean, we're not really seeing bands like the Beach Boys come up anymore.
well, you're not going to see a giant band much. We
And a lot of that
also,
has to do with media, right? Or
exactly.
mediums.
Well, yeah, I agree. Where, people aren't going out and buying an album.
Hmm.
They're not waiting on their song to come on the radio to record it. They're not doing that. There's just
Yeah.
like, oh, I can just listen to this one song and it can be okay.
I mean, sometimes
Yeah.
I do wonder if there'll ever be a band, just to use an example, that will capture an audience as big as Taylor Swift has, you know? I
Yeah,
mean,
Taylor Swift's a weird phenomenon, too. You
or
know,
I was trying to think, yeah, or even like some of the lower, not lower, but lesser, like Ariana Grande in their name.
yeah, nobody's gonna care about her music
Yeah, but
100
like
years from
she
now.
gets big crowds. I mean, if
She has big crowds,
if a
but
rock band was as big as she is, they'd be known, I guess, right now
right.
anyway. Or I was trying to think of another, like the only one people I could think of that sort of draw that these days that you could consider not necessarily rock, maybe Ed
Yeah.
Sheeran. I mean,
Ed Sheeran, yeah.
Sheeran, excuse me. I mean,
Yeah, and he's a songwriter, so I'll give him that at
yeah,
least.
yeah, but
I mean, I may not like his stuff, but I
right,
respect him as a songwriter.
yeah, me too. I couldn't tell you one song he sings, but
Yeah, um,
but the same thing could be said for like I was trying to think of his name. Tattoo on his face guy.
Post Malone.
Yeah, Post Malone. He gets a lot of popularity, but I couldn't tell you any of his songs either.
Yeah, I don't care. He's
Yeah,
too
yeah,
much of a sideshow to me.
but
I
yeah,
don't care who's listening to me right now. I'm just gonna tell you right now, that's just too much of a sideshow.
but
Um,
my point being, they're kind of
yeah, but you're not gonna have these giants that remain in our culture that are in the Smithsonian kind of level, you know, not that I care about Smithsonian, but you know what I mean, what the importance it means to us.
yeah.
Um,
Hey, I like
you
the
know what I
Space
mean? Like
Museum.
but you know what I mean? Like I'm saying, as far as like music goes, music's music. It doesn't have to be in a museum. But as far as like being a part of our culture, that seems to be one of the things. If you get a Smithsonian exhibit, then you finally arrived. Star Wars.
Eh,
But
excuse me. Hmm.
uh, there's there are a few bands that are like that. The Beatles aren't that because Beatles aren't American. People forget that. People are like, oh yeah, but the Beatles, yeah, yeah, for England, yes, for Great
Yeah,
Britain, but for America, truly American band. Now we have a lot of American artists. I mean, Prince,
yeah.
Billy
As
Joel,
we
you
certainly
know,
do. We have a lot of American artists, that's for sure, and
Lionel
very good
Richie,
ones.
Who wrote a lot of songs.
I
Um,
mean, if I could name my favorite American band, like not
all American, yeah.
singer-songwriter, but I mean, you'd probably say the Beach Boys. I might go with the Eagles personally.
Eagles are up
Um,
there, yeah. Eagles. I mean, the Doors are another one.
Allman Brothers band for me as well.
Yeah.
I'm a
Um,
big fan of Leonard Skinner, but I don't know if they're in my top five of American bands.
yeah. I mean, I'm kind of with you. Kind of got worn out on me a little,
Same thing
but
for Aerosmith.
yeah, no,
Now Boston, you might be inching toward the top five for my all-time American
really.
bands. I really do like some Boston.
Huh. A
I like some
manufactured
Boston.
band. All right.
Huh?
Yeah, they're
Well, if you'd
good.
asked me when I was 15, I would have been like Boston. They're like
Yeah, oh
right
yeah,
next to
yeah,
Led
yeah.
Zeppelin.
Well, and
Speak,
again, Zeppelin's not American, so
Well, I
They
just
don't
meant as
count.
far as my favorite
Yeah.
bands, but
It's just funny how like we just assume like wait, oh wait, no, they're not American. They're not
oh, I
American.
know they're
Like
not American.
no, but
That's
I'm just saying like it's funny how people are like, oh, my favorite American band is the Beatles. What really? Did you just say American band? The Beatles? They're British. You
so
know,
how would you place Crosby, Stills and Nash then? They're hybrid.
yeah, they are hybrid actually.
Yeah,
They're not technically an American band. So
because they got a British guy in the band
um
and a Canadian when you had young, Neil Young.
yeah, if you want to add that. But yeah, I mean for that matter, Bob Dylan. I mean, that's another name that's going to live on in the lexicon of American music. Like love him or hate him,
Hmm.
Bob Dylan. I
I like
mean,
Bob. I like some of his stuff. Okay, and I'm just going by purely sound. I couldn't care less about the. I could care less. I couldn't care less. Thank you about the cultural whatever significance of Bob Dylan.
oh yeah.
My judgment always comes on, do I like the way it sounds? Do I like the sound? Or do I like the
Yeah,
song
I can
lyrics,
take
that kind
Bob
of stuff?
Dylan. Yeah, I can take Bob Dylan in spurts.
He's got a handful of it I like.
I mean, obviously, he is not the best singing voice by any means anywhere on the planet, really.
Right.
Um,
That was never his point though, right?
no, it's more folky sound, and for folk, you don't really have to have that.
Oh, here's a
Um,
question I thought about the other day
what's that?
with all that. Um, okay. There are some we know of as far as famous music singers go. Like for instance, Hank Williams Sr.
Yeah.
He had Hank Williams Jr. Famous musical singers that had children that would become, famous musical singers. And Hank Williams Jr., like Natalie Cole, Frank
Hmm.
Sinatra's daughter, I forget her name.
Nancy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nancy. But I came up not it's a pretty short, it's not a very long list. I think Jacob Dylan's probably a better musician than his
Oh, I
dad.
think he is too. I agree with you. I think I
But he
would
certainly had
concede.
he certainly had success though as well.
Right, with the wallflowers. Yeah.
Hmm.
And honestly, you can hear his dad in him, but he sings better.
Yeah, a little more
Um,
refined.
um, but yeah, it's kind of odd. You think about those. It's like, oh gosh, there aren't a whole lot.
Yeah, like of the Beatles, even Julian Lennon is probably the most talented of the children, singers of the.
And he was really more of a flash in the pan.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
just had a couple of kind of semi hits, I
Right.
guess, back when he was in the
Um,
day. I know Paul
yeah.
McCartney's son is trying to, but I don't think any of his stuff is really catching on.
No, that'd be a hard shadow to live
Same thing
in.
for Danny Harrison.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm with you.
Hmm.
Cool that they're trying. I get it, but I wouldn't want to try to do that. I'd be like, I'm doing something
No,
completely different.
no, unless you count the Wilson girls. Speaking of the Beach Boys,
Yeah, Wilson Phillips. Yeah,
yeah,
because
Wilson
that's
Phillips.
also what's his name's daughter.
Hmm.
What's his name? China Phillips is people are yelling at me over the thing now. It's
Yeah,
John Phillips' daughter, right? It's
yeah, yeah,
John
yeah.
Phillips of
That's his
the
dad.
Mamas and the
Okay.
Papas. It's his daughter. With the two Brian Wilson's daughters,
Hmm.
one of which went on with a TV show, a talk show for a while, Carney. Um, yeah, I mean, and they're talented. They could sing. I mean, the songs are like earworms that dig into your head with the utmost of pain,
Hold on
but
for one more day.
they could sing. That
Right.
early '90s kind of like we don't really know what this is. It's not yacht rock. It's not this that and the other. It's like what is this? And
It's like Ace of Base. What is this? I don't know what this is. It's like every song sounds the same, but it's different. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. What the heck?
Well,
They're trying to be ABBA. Yeah. Anyway,
our time
um,
is running short, Jason, but what else is going on, man?
well, I
You
mean, I
got
just
me wanting to listen to some Beach Boys.
well, and everybody should. Everybody should go down and pop in Pet Sounds and just ruminate on that
Pop it
album.
in.
Pop in, Smile. Pop in, all these albums and just
Yeah.
listen to it, you know,
I
and
have,
and and
yeah.
just kind of let it. I mean, and do it on vinyl, honestly, because that's the warmth of it literally is there, and it's just I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that one kind of got me. it's just your childhood. He was the last of the brothers. I didn't really know. I mean, Dennis died in 82, 83. Um, and then Carl died in 1998.
Hmm.
And, by that time they were the band that played before the Braves games in the 80s. Like,
I forgot about that. Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
And I never went to any of those, I don't think.
I went to Fulton County Stadium back in the day simply for the Beach Boys concert afterwards half the
That
time.
was a staple too. Like
Yeah.
they did those a few times a year, right?
Now Brian wasn't with them
Oh, he
at that
wasn't with
point.
them during that
No,
period.
no, I don't
Oh,
think so. He would come every now and then, but he didn't tour with them regularly.
right.
Um, but and for that matter, John Stamos toured with him for a while.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
as a
was a
drummer.
full-fledged member, I
Um,
think, for a while.
which makes sense. He fit in perfectly.
Hmm.
But I just even through all that, you look at them there, and they were kind of more of their poppy Beach Boys sound, but they still had their psychedelic side of the late '60s, early '70s. They still had the 2020 album with "Do It Again" on it, and their
Hmm.
version of "I Can Hear Music" from the Ronettes, their version of that song, and then the song that Charles Manson wrote, uh, "Never Learn Not to Love." Um, they had some odd history over the years, and
Hmm.
like a lot of things in Southern California back then, but
Right.
they're still going to be in your head and in your heart, I think. Like I said, you struggle to find really anybody that doesn't know a Beach Boys song, no matter what age, usually. Um,
Yeah.
I
As
mean,
time
and
fades, I find fewer people know much about their stuff, especially the younger generation. But no doubt, I don't think that it'll, because you always find people like my kids or other people's kids
yeah,
that are growing up now. When they get to be, because I went through that phase. When I was like 14, 15, 16 back in the 90s, I discovered Led Zeppelin, and
right,
they had been out of the picture for like 15 plus years or whatever.
right, yeah,
And and it was kind of like, wow, what is this? And you talk to my friend's dad, and he's like, oh, I listened to that back when I was a teenager in the late
yeah. I
60s.
saw them live at Fulton County Stadium. What? You know, you sit there and you don't realize it's not been that long, but music changed so rapidly.
Hmm.
And we had the '80s stuck in the middle, which we like a lot of the '80s music, but it was significantly different, from your '70s
Hmm.
rock and stuff. So you forget how much music changes, and
Mm. Yeah, yeah, that's true. So, what do you have going on this week? You're going on
hey, but like right
vacation
now, it
when?
just seems like a lot of beige. What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say,
Oh,
when are you going on vacation?
a week from this Saturday after this podcast is recorded.
Oh man, you just talked about. I'm not going to get on this tangent, but speaking of Canada, I've heard taking a Canadian train ride is a great
Oh,
experience.
I would love to do the Rocky Mountaineer out of Vancouver. Yeah, that would be fun.
Hmm.
We're not on that. We're not quite that far west, but we're going to be doing the ride on go out on a glacier in one of those buses with the massive like snow tires on it and all.
Wow.
And we're going to do the gondola ride up to the top of one of the mountains there. Probably getting the hot springs up there. Um,
How about expense wise? Is going to Canada kind of a pricey thing?
yes. I
A
mean,
US
it's
dollar doesn't go quite as far up there.
no, it actually goes, well, our dollar's worth more actually.
Yeah.
Um,
So
but
yeah,
it's still expensive.
it'd be expensive, right?
So it's like over 4 grand.
Well,
Um,
we're out of time, Jason.
are
So
we?
we are out of time. Thanks everybody for joining us this week, and we'll do it again one day.